I am so excited today to have another amazing guest all the way from the UK, Josie May, who I will introduce in a moment. But I just want to say thank you so much for sticking it out with us, for being here for the Love Uncensored Summit, and for sharing this with all the beautiful divine people in your life who you know could do with a little bit more loving, a little bit more fun, and in today's case, a little bit more dating, and the kind of dating that they actually enjoy doing. As always, if you know somebody who needs this information, please feel free to share it with them. The more people connected to love, intimacy, and connection in this world, the less chance there is for war, violence, and aggravation. So spread the love, share the message. And it's my pleasure to introduce you to Josie May. Josie May is
Hi.
a qualified love and dating coach who supports women to attract the relationship they desire and deserve. Josie is married to her soulmate and has an 8-year-old son who she adores. She began her journey of self-love and transformation following a relationship breakdown, which resulted in her becoming a single mother with a 7-month-old baby. Through this self-development, Josie learned that finding the relationship you desire begins from within. Josie teaches women how to transform their love life and attract the kind of relationship they desire by working on 4 important areas, which we'll talk about throughout this series. Josie's found her calling in this work and has found true fulfillment in helping other people experience true love. Josie, thank you so much for being here.
It's my absolute pleasure.
So all the way from the UK, Josie had some challenges because I'm in Australia. She's in the
Yep.
UK. And what's most important, what I really love about the work that we're doing is this is international. We have the ability to really connect with each other and share such beautiful divine information across the whole globe. So Josie, how did you end up in this work? How did you end up as a dating expert, and how long have you been doing it for? Tell us a bit about you.
So I have been a love and dating coach now for just over a year. And I got into it, as it's mentioned a little bit in my bio, due to my own I had a really difficult time with love and dating. And I was miserable in love and I was disastrous at dating. And at one point I kind of hit rock bottom with it. I was on my own, I had a little baby, I was having these terrible dates and I was having men just kind of disappear on me. And I thought, this cannot carry on. And so I kind of had a period of deciding that I was going to do everything I could to make this work and read up everything I could. So I read up everything, I devoured everything on self-love and dating and relationships basically. And kind of after a couple of months of kind of all this inner work, went back out onto the dating scene with a whole different energy, and it completely transformed. And I met my husband within a couple of months of that. So the reason I've decided to get into love and dating coaching is because it completely transformed my life so much, and I could see so many women struggling with it that I knew I could help them, and I decided that that's what I wanted to do. I had a real calling to do that. So yeah, it's basically started with my own story, really.
Yeah, and isn't that such a beautiful place to start from, because it gives you so much compassion and understanding for what it's like out there. And I've been really looking forward to this conversation, because for me, I've been in a long-term relationship for 26 years. And, even although I haven't been in the dating game, I hear horror stories, male and female friends, and it's so tiring, so exhausting. So anything to give people some tips to save that energy and save that, and to also make sure that people get out there and actually do it, because it can be scary, right?
Yeah, and so people sometimes they get burnt by some dating and what they do, instead of kind of moving on from that, because they've been hurt so much, they just block it off and go, dating's not for me, I'm not going to do it. Or internet dating, a big one that I hear a lot is internet dating is not for me, because they've had a difficult time, and so they'll completely block it off. And nowadays, obviously, that's the most convenient way to date. It's not the only way by any means, but it's the most convenient way to date nowadays, I think. I think more than 50% of couples now meet online, which is amazing. If you think 10 years ago it was completely different. So times have changed a lot. So yeah, it can be really scary. Dating can be really scary, and part of the work that I do is to stop it being scary, make it fun, take the pressure off.
Oh my gosh, why not? Like if you're going out meeting new people, that experience could be so much fun, but the anxiety and the anticipation is, you know, a lot
Yeah.
of people have that. Josie, I'm really curious, firstly, about some of the resources that I know you have, which I'd love you to share if you're open to sharing some of those resources with our viewers.
Yes, of course. So I have a free dating guide. It's called the Goddess Dating Guide,
Oh,
and
nice. I love the name.
yeah, I know. Well, I tell my clients that I want them to. We work together to get to a point where they are dating like a goddess and they feel that goddess energy. And so I have a free guide, which you can find at my website, www.stepuptolove.com, and it's a gorgeous guide. It's had a lovely graphic designer work on it, and it's beautiful. It's got 5 really important tips to change your energy around dating, make it more fun, and date as a goddess, which is how most women that I know want to be treated when it comes to love and dating. It's a nice energy to have, for sure.
And it's a great way to start a relationship, right? Because the person that you're dating could potentially be the one. You just never know when it's that right guy or right guy or right girl.
Yeah.
Why not start with that amazing energy? And I know for myself, when I've met people outside of dating, if I don't come as my best version of me, they're sitting on the other side going, oh, it's picking up some vibes from this one.
Yeah, exactly. And it's first impressions really matter, don't they? You know, like we all kind of make judgments on people from the first impressions. And obviously if somebody's going into a date really nervous and almost like, is he the one? Because what I do is I try and persuade women to take the pressure off. Like, don't start thinking, is this the one every time you go on a date? Don't worry about that. Just go in the date with, I am going to have fun. I'm going to meet a new person. I'm going to flirt and I'm going to have fun. And, you know, you're looking for signs, is he the one? And that can really put the pressure on a date. And the energy that you give off when you're in that state, you can see it. The men can see it. The person who's waiting can see. It's almost like a kind of intense energy, which isn't fun for dating. It should be more of a, you know, light-hearted, pleasurable kind of fun, basically. So a big part of the work that I do is kind of support women to make dating fun, to change their energy around it, which then changes their experiences of it.
Beautiful. Josie, you said at the beginning that there was a lot of work that you had to do, that inner work that you did before you went back into the dating scene. Do you mind sharing with our viewers just a couple of things that you did to get you to the point where you felt more confident going out there and you were getting better results from the inner work that you had done?
So like it said in my bio, is it all starts from within. Like a great relationship starts with you as an individual becoming full, becoming whole as an individual, because relationships can't make you whole. So too often we look for a relationship to make us whole, and actually a relationship can't make us whole. We have to be whole to get a great relationship. Otherwise you'll attract somebody who's needy as well, and if you're needing someone to save you, they're needing them for something else, and it doesn't work. So the biggest part of what I did was I worked on my own self-love. And the thing is, I was a confident woman. I had a great career. I had good friends. I looked nice. You know, I had a good social life. But I just couldn't get love right. It was like everything else seemed to be okay, but I just couldn't get this bit right. So it wasn't that my whole self-esteem was down. It was just my self-esteem around love and around relationships. So I did a lot of work around that, about being worthy, about actually, I had a lot of blockages around being a single mum. I thought no one would want a single mum. Nobody would want to take on a child. So I had to do a lot of work around self-esteem around that and sort of prove myself wrong. So what I did was I went out and found evidence of 20 single mums that found love again. And once you start looking, they're popping up everywhere. So, and that started changing, thinking actually that can happen. Why was I thinking it couldn't happen? It can happen. And working very much on myself in terms of how I felt about myself, how I felt I deserve love, and my boundaries, being clear about my boundaries. So that was one of the things. Second thing is I got really clear about what I wanted from a relationship and what I could give. Because I think sometimes we go in saying, well, I don't want this, I don't want a cheater, and I don't want someone who's bossy. And it's so much about what we don't want. And what we forget to look at is what actually we do want, which is really important. It's more of a positive energy again. So I did a lot of work on that as well. And that's stuff that I now take through and work with my clients as well, to kind of support them to change their energy. It's all about making their energy more positive around love.
Josie, I love that. And I hear that a lot from people. I don't want this, I don't want that. Even when they're inside a relationship, they talk more about what they don't want from their partner as opposed to what they really do want. And then we get curious about, why is all the stuff that I don't want turning up?
Yeah.
And we know the law of attraction, the more we focus on it, the more it's going to keep showing up. I really love that. In terms of, for any of the women, and I really think that this is translatable, a lot of what you're sharing and talking about is the same for men. Men have the same hang-ups or issues when it comes to, knowing what they don't want. So I was sitting next to a guy at an event recently, and I was sharing with him the work that I do around intimacy and sexuality, and he said, I could give you some stories. I was married for 23 years and I'm dating at the moment. And some of the challenges that he was experiencing as a man in his sort of later 40s, maybe even early 50s, some of the things that you've said, Josie, around having that self-confidence and knowing what you want and having fun was exactly the things that he was saying that he was seeing in women. This kind of desperation, is he the one, not having fun and having, having so many hang-ups and really being so withdrawn when it came to being out there and having fun. So it's really, the work that you do is so, so important. And, at the end of the day, isn't love what most of us want in some form or another?
Yeah, we were born to love and be loved, weren't we? So I think even when we try and block it off because we've been hurt, there's something niggling away at us. Like often we get hurt, men and women, and we build up this brick wall around our heart and say, you know what, I'm okay single, I'm okay. But there's something that just niggles in the background. That is there something more? Because, we like you said, it's all about love. Everything's about love, isn't it? And I think to love and be loved is so important. And I think it's just when people have been burnt that they can become scared, and it's just fear. But actually, when you do lighten it up, when you do make it more fun, then it's a whole different experience. And that's when the love of your life is attractive. Because what's more attractive than a happy person? There's somebody who is enjoying life in the moment. They are the people that you want to be around. Like children want to be around you, women want to be around you, men want to be around, everyone does, because you give off that great energy, don't you? That life's good, and that's the kind of energy that I say is the best way to go into dating. That's the best way to go into life, really.
Exactly. Yeah, I really love that. One of my mentors has a saying, and he says, how you do anything is how you do everything. So if you're a positive person in life, it's likely you're going to turn up positive when you're in a dating environment.
Yeah.
Josie, I would love to know, for the clients who come and see you, what sort of things is it? So we've spoken a little about pre-work before you get out there into the dating game. What's some of that work that you need to do? What's some of the stuff that you share with the women that come and speak to you about issues that they may be having during the process of dating?
So, for example, a big issue is kind of fear. A big issue is fear about either getting back out there again. And my advice to them is just start one step at a time. Start with one date and then build it up. I also encourage women to date more than one guy at once. And men do this as well, I encourage, because I think what happens is if you just date one person, one, it can make things slower, and two is it can put a lot of pressure on. So if you're only dating one guy, then, and when I'm saying dating, I mean casual. No, I don't encourage people to have sex if they're dating more than one person, because obviously that can get messy. So if you're dating one guy, then you can be thinking about him all the time and start kind of overthinking things, start getting a bit needy. Where if there's three different people, you're going out with three different people, you become a lighter energy. You haven't got time to get obsessed with one and start kind of putting all the pressure on. So it just makes it that little bit lighter. And obviously when one starts to stand out, then the others can fall away and you can kind of concentrate on that one person. But until you get to that stage, I encourage women to date other people, to kind of keep a pool of people that they're dating, and you know, go on dates with different people each week. And that I have found really works. When I tell some of my clients that is what I encourage, the fear that they that I see in their faces, like, what? It might even take one person, three, and then a couple of months down the line, they're like, yeah, I've got this date that day. So the energy just changes completely. So that is one tip that I do have. And some people, that's a big thing for them, like, wow, I'm not sure I can do that, or I'm not sure if I agree with that. Because often, I think the other thing is that often we, as women, get into relationship in our head very quickly. So as soon as we exchange a phone number with a man, that's some form of relationship often to a woman. And if he then doesn't call, the woman's like, well, why does he not call me? You know, because we've got some sort of relationship. I don't mean they think they're in a relationship, but they've got some form. Whereas a man, if he's got a number, it doesn't, on the whole, it doesn't feel as like he has to call kind of thing. So it's almost supporting women to be more lighthearted about the kind of dating game. So that's one thing. The other thing is the body clock that obviously women have. They get to 31, 32, 33 and hear tick, 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 you know, they want children. And that can put a lot of pressure on as well. So it's about kind of stepping back from that and trying to not let that take over their thoughts, really, because there's nothing that can put off somebody more if you're going to a date and going, so do you want children? First thing, it's like, take the step back, take the pressure off. And I understand that. I understand that myself, that pressure that we have, that men just don't have that same kind of body clock pressure in terms of having children. So yeah, other tips again is it's just about, the main thing is about it being more lighthearted and about it being more fun and taking the pressure off in all areas. And what they find then is that it's a much more successful dating.
I really love that sense of pressure that comes with. Imagine if we did this with best friends, you know, friends, people who we've just met, and we're looking for new friends. And we're like, so we're looking for our best new friend. It's pretty scary stuff to have that level of intensity. We don't do it in other areas.
Do you like Mexican food? Because it's really important that you do. You'd be like, you know, it's kind of, we do get really pressured, don't we? And it's understandable. It's because it's fear. It all comes from fear. It's the fear that they're not gonna meet the one. And a lot of the work that I do is around law of attraction as well, and that's about really getting into the belief that an amazing relationship is already there for you. You've just got to kind of get in alignment with it and allow it to come, really. So that again takes the pressure off. We try and control things, and often when we're scared, we try and control things out of fear. But actually, when you let things go, that's when all the good stuff comes. So that's another big part of it, the law of attraction.
Yeah. Beautiful. Josie, you said briefly that, you know, a lot of people kind of shut off to the idea of internet dating, and then you also said that there's a lot of people that there's a lot of different ways for internet dating. And I guess for me, looking from the outside in, I think I've lost all the thought of what could possibly outside of internet dating, because my automatic thinking just goes, right, Google it, find an online solution. But what are some of the offline solutions or concepts that are out there in terms of dating?
Okay, so there's organized.
I guess safety is also an aspect.
Of course, yeah, definitely. So there's other organized dating. So you can go to singles nights, so you can go to speed dating, which I think is super fun because you get to meet a lot of people in a short time. And there's events. So some people find them a little bit too pressured, and that's fine. Other people really enjoy them. So there's some kind of easy to go to ideas where you know there's going to be singles. What I say to the ladies that I work with is 50% of the population are men. Get out. Just get out of your house. get out of your normal routine. So if you go to work and you go home and you don't do much in between, it's very unlikely that you're going to meet a man. Because unfortunately, the man of your dreams or the woman of your dreams, if you're a man looking, it's very unlikely they're going to knock on your door and say, I'm here. You know, it's about getting out and meeting new people. So I also suggest following their desires, their dreams. So do you enjoy art? Well, join an art class. Do you like walking? Then go to a meetup where people do walking. There's a website, I don't know if they have it in Australia, but it's in the States and it's in the US, meetup.com. And basically, that is literally anything and everything on there. So anything that you're interested in, it's likely that there's going to be a meetup in your local area. And what I also say is have a think about what you want out of a future partner and what sort of things they'd be interested in, and go there. You know, if you think they'd be artistic, maybe you go to art galleries. If you think they'd be a walker, then maybe you go to a walking club. Or, you know, do they love dancing? Okay, get to a dance class. And dance class is a great way to interact with other people because, you know, it's about communication. So it's just about getting out, saying yes to every invitation that you've got, and being positive, almost being in the energy that you expect to meet somebody wonderful. It's going to happen anywhere. It could happen in the supermarket, or it could happen walking the dog, but it could happen anywhere. But you've got to have your head up and be open to it, open to communicating with people. So yeah, and it's quite exciting that way. It's you know, it's opportunities everywhere.
Yeah, it gets me excited in terms of thinking about what the opportunities are. I love that. I love what you said, Josie, about having your head up, and that is that, you know, it's not just, it's metaphorical, but it's also noticing what is around us, what those opportunities are. And like you said before, if we're focused on the positive and looking for it, that's what we're going to find. Eventually, it might not be today, it might not be tomorrow, but you know, it happens when we're actively out there looking. I've heard a lot of women talking about the dates that they've been on, that there's a lot of guys that they've hooked up with that just want sex, or they're out there and there are predators. Basically, what I'm hearing from some women are that there are predators out there. And I'd love to know from your perspective what your experience with this is, Josie, and what women can do and men can do to kind of keep themselves safe in that dating field.
Yeah. So I always tell my clients to make sure that they meet, if they're internet dating, which is obviously a way where you're meeting a complete stranger. And anytime that you meet someone and you're meeting them for the first time, so you might meet somebody, say, in the supermarket, but then if you're going to meet them again, always arrange to meet them in a public place, somewhere you know and somewhere you feel safe. And let somebody know, one of your family or friends, let them know where you're going and where you are. And I think that is the best way to kind of stay safe, stay in a public place. Don't go to somebody's house and don't invite them to your house until you feel comfortable with them. You spent some time with them and feel more comfortable. And that's after a few dates. But in the meantime, like if you're in a public place, then you'll feel safer and you'll be safer. So kind of sometimes people will say, would you like me to pick you up? Then I would just suggest that they say, no, thank you for that. For the first few dates, because until you feel comfortable with someone, you don't want somebody to know where you live, or it could that could put you in a dangerous situation. And most people aren't dangerous, but there are certainly some. So it's just about being smart about it, really. But if you're in a public place and you're telling people where you are, then you're safe. You're in a safe position, and somewhere that you know, so you know how to get to your car, or you know how to get the train or whatever to get home. So that's the main thing, I think, somewhere where you feel comfortable as well. And as a woman, I think, you know, people expect you to kind of say where you prefer to be, that you felt like you know an area. I think that's okay.
Yeah, so that's actually perfect, because if they make a suggestion that you're not comfortable, like let's meet in a strip club, and you're not comfortable with that, well, it's also being able to know that you're a grown woman. You bloody will get to decide, and that's half the fun, is it? Well, actually, no, I'm, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
I can decide. I can choose.
Yeah, and if you weren't comfortable with somewhere they suggested, if you are comfortable, great. And if you're not, just say, "Oh, I'd prefer not to meet there. Can we meet here?" And if they're funny about that, then they're certainly not the man for you. And I would not spend another thought worrying about it, and I'd move on. So I think sometimes we worry about kind of pleasing the other person so much that we end up dropping our own boundaries, and that sets off on not the right footing. Basically, you want to be feeling equal. You want to be feeling that you're kind of supported and that your boundaries are, you feel comfortable. You don't want to go on a first date and not feel comfortable with where you are, because that would straight away be difficult, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. So I'm just having a look here, Josie. The 4 key areas that you really focus on and being the most important is self-love. We've spoken a little bit about that. We've spoken about the law of attraction, solving limiting beliefs. Is there anything in there that you would like to cover off a little bit on?
Just basically, what I found with my clients is that they all have love wounds, and those love wounds can come from previous relationships, or they can come from childhood. So they can come from any time in life, and basically something's happened to them, or they've experienced something, or they might have seen their parents behave in a certain way, or they might have been in a relationship where they've been treated in a certain way. And basically they have these wounds from love. And so what we do is, with coaching, the thing with coaching is it's not about really digging deep into the past. It's about kind of uncovering where the blocks are and then moving on. So it's what we do is we find out about where they are. And what happens is often something happens, and then people have been hurt so much that they push it down and block it and think it'll go away, and I'll push it down and it'll go away and I never have to think about it. But what the problem is it doesn't go away. It changes your behaviors because you've not actually dealt with it. And what we found is that when we actually bring it up, something from the past, they're stronger now. They can deal with thinking about this incident, or they can deal with thinking about this past love. And actually it's easy to let it go when years on, and actually once you let it go, it's kind of, what I was saying is about the brick wall around the heart. Because they've been hurt, they build this brick wall, and when you let something go, some of the bricks start to fall down, and you start to kind of allow love back in again. So one of the things that we do work on is kind of identifying where the limiting beliefs are around love, and where the wounds are, and just allowing them to come up and heal, so that they can open up to love again. Because look, to love is to be vulnerable.
It is, absolutely. And that vulnerability is what comes across.
Love. Yeah.
Sorry, there was a delay there and I thought you had stopped. Please keep going.
I know, it's okay. So the internet just went a bit funny then, didn't it? So yeah, unless you're vulnerable, like, people are very scared of being vulnerable, but to be in a relationship, you have to be vulnerable. You have to allow yourself to be vulnerable. And sometimes what happens is people are so scared that they block off being vulnerable, which means they don't have a relationship. So it's about kind of feeling okay about being vulnerable, because your partner's going to be vulnerable as well. And it's scary, but actually it's also beautiful. It's a real great way of kind of connecting with someone. And so a lot of the work around limiting beliefs is about love wounds and healing them and letting them go, basically letting them dissolve, so they no longer affect your future, which can be difficult. So yeah,
it can be. And that work is, I can imagine that the work around dating, there would be nothing quite like it to bring up some of the stuff that has happened in the past, because that even the process of dating itself, of putting yourself on the internet or going out and meeting new people, all of that in itself is a vulnerability.
Yeah.
And I was speaking to somebody actually today, a very close girlfriend, who's encouraging her daughter to go out and do some dating. And she said, unless I keep sort of nudging her along the road, she has this block up where she just doesn't want to do it. And so that vulnerability, I know for myself, Josie, when I see that vulnerability in somebody else, it makes me just fall in love with them.
Yeah.
Whether they're somebody intimate, or whether it's a best friend or someone on the street, it's a beautiful thing.
Definitely. And it's a big part of falling in love, is kind of seeing the vulnerability in the other person and being vulnerable yourself. So I think we're scared of vulnerability. We almost think that vulnerability makes us weak, but actually somebody who shows their vulnerability is being strong. They're really being strong. And everyone else sees that. It's just the individual can feel weak, but everyone else around them just sees strength. So yeah, it is a gorgeous thing, and it takes practice. And the more you kind of allow yourself to do it, the easier it gets, for sure.
Yeah, so the more you do it, the easier it becomes. And there's, like with everything, there's the balance of that. So it's not about completely being out of control of emotion, but it is having that time to, to know when it's okay to completely step into that vulnerability and let it go.
Yeah,
so
it's about being.
You go.
So I was going to say, it's about being vulnerable, but also having clear boundaries. So kind of knowing what you want, but also showing, not being scared to be who you are, not being scared to kind of say what your needs are. Because being vulnerable can just be saying, I'm cold. Some people will sit there cold on a date because, I'm just saying a date because we're talking about dating, sit there cold on a date because they don't want to say, I feel cold. Or they'll sit there hungry because they don't want to say, I'm hungry, because they feel that would be what the other person might think and they feel a bit vulnerable. But actually, that's okay. You're cold, and it's okay for you to say that. And it might make you feel a little bit vulnerable, but actually, you're just saying what your needs are. You're just putting across what your needs are. So that's kind of a more basic vulnerability as opposed to, deep soul vulnerability. But it's all little steps.
It is little steps. And I think a lot of those little steps are very significant in terms of women being able to voice what they need.
Yeah, exactly.
Start with the little things, all the way, starting with I'm feeling cold to I'm feeling like I'm not sexually satisfied right now. So
exactly. And it's funny, I was saying the thing I was thinking exactly the same thing, because it goes from saying what you want for being cold to actually saying what you want from sex, because there's so many people that feel that they can't. So start with the little steps, and then when it gets to the big things, then it's easier to do, isn't it? So definitely.
Exactly. Sure. It's not a boundary. It's not this massive wall that you're trying to break down, or not end up ever saying anything about it and being in a relationship where everything should be great, but the sex is terrible.
Exactly.
And you don't feel like you have the voice to actually say that.
Yeah.
And actually, I was talking, I run a course called Saucy Secrets to Spice Up Your Love Life. And I had a woman in my audience about a year ago, Josie, and she said that her and her partner had been together for 10 plus years, and the sex between them was terrible. And she said it got so bad that one night she just exploded at him while they were in the process of making love. And she said, oh my God, are you finished yet? And it was just a sign of all of the years of frustration of not saying something, and it came out in the most unconstructive way. And he was in absolute shock. He thought he was a great lover.
Oh yeah, and they could have had many years, because he probably wanted to help. Like he will have wanted to make it better. So Absolutely. If she'd have said something 9 years earlier or 9.5 years earlier, then they could have had a good sex life for the last 9.5 years.
Exactly. I promise you, it's better now.
Yeah, good. The course helped.
Exactly. So one of the other things, I mean, and we've been talking about this anyway, is really around smart dating is one of the areas that you really focus in on. Can you talk us through a little bit about what that means, Josie? What is smart dating?
Yeah. So obviously we talked a little bit about kind of it being fun. So that's a big part of it. But the other thing is, a lot of women now, obviously we're in the 21st century and things have changed, and women are very into the careers and doing as much in the careers as men do. So very different than it was 50 years ago. Or 50 years ago, I'd say even. And so women are very often, when it comes to work, they use a very masculine energy. So in life, we have masculine and feminine energies, and it's good to have a mix of both. But often, if women are kind of into the careers or into sports and things like that, they'll come with a very masculine energy, and that is very logical, sort of task-based, know what they want, go for it, kind of move fast, act, and kind of work in that way. So set a goal, achieve it. Set a goal, achieve it. And often, because women are used to being in this energy when it comes to work or when it comes to fitness or kind of even looking after children sometimes, then they often use that same energy then the same when it comes to dating. So kind of see a man, know what I want, go after him. But if a woman wants a masculine man, which I find, a masculine energy man, which I often find they do, which is somebody who will protect them and look after them and kind of lead and sort of be that sort of masculine energy figure, then that energy, if they go in with that kind of task-centered, go for it approach, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work at all. And so a lot of the a lot of the work that I do with women is around supporting them to lean back into their feminine energy. And that is to kind of allow, not to chase the man, let him pursue her. Kind of, it's like the old-fashioned dating kind of thing. The man calls first, the man asks out on the date, the man drives, the man books the restaurant, pays, and the woman kind of leans back and is cared for. It's a gorgeous way of dating. It's very different if you're not used to it. Mm-hmm. It's a gorgeous way of dating, and it doesn't have to mean your whole relationship is that way, but it's just a really good way to start off, because masculine and feminine energies attract. And if when women kind of go into dating with that kind of, I know what I want, it can really scare off men. It can almost feel like they are demasculating them, they're taking away their kind of manliness. And sometimes, obviously, because times have changed, women have got careers as good as men have got now, and it can kind of feel like men like to feel like they're taking care of a woman. They want to, on the whole, they want to care for a woman, they want to make her happy. And I show the women that I coach a way of just allowing that to happen, and it's gorgeous. Like, and I am a feminist, don't get me wrong, I'm not against, I'm a complete feminist, and I don't feel that women shouldn't have a voice for anything at all. But what I say to the women I coach is, try it. Just try this way of dating, because believe me, it's wonderful to be pursued, to be cared for, to be looked after, and not have to kind of chase and worry and try and control. It's so much nicer just to lean back and kind of allow this beautiful kind of feminine and masculine energies to work together. So a lot of the work I do there is this kind of smart dating.
Josie, I love that, because the space of talking about masculine and feminine energy, so much confusion around it. And I'm glad that you said you're a feminist. When we look up the classification, what does feminist actually mean? The word feminist means equal rights, men and women. Yeah. That's all. Yeah. But we've placed so much power in that word that people go, oh my God. Yeah. The other side of that is understanding the masculine and feminine energy. And it's so political.
Oh, Let's
just drop the bullshit. Let's let it go in terms of the beautiful balance that exists between men and women. It's not about who's stronger and weaker. Masculine doesn't mean strong. Feminine does not mean weak.
Certainly not. Yeah, certainly not. And when it works, when it's kind of in unity, that is when it's gorgeous and beautiful. And that's when, like, it just feels great. It feels good. So what I always say is, by kind of leaning back into your femininity in dating, doesn't mean that you can't carry on using your masculine energy at work. Use it. It's brilliant. But when it comes to dating, just kind of enjoy that beautiful feminine energy. And what I find is, because sometimes the women I work with say, but I don't want to let him lead. And I say, just try it. And then they'll come back and they'll be like, you know what, this is great. I don't have to worry about what I'm saying, because he leads the conversation. I kind of go with the flow. I'm not worried. He's kind of arranging everything. I'm like, yeah, it's great. It's great. And it works. And he's happy because he's making you happy. And you're happy because you're not worrying. It's not this overthinking, overanalyzing. What's my next move? What do I need to do to get what I want? It's more like just allowing it to happen. And if it doesn't, that's fine, because you've no pressure. So yeah, it's a great way to date. It takes practice, but it's wonderful.
And also for men to be the doing, because that's what they're so damn good at, is getting stuff done. So if they've got a project, driving, booking the restaurant, pursuing all of that stuff, that's something for them to do. And so that the part of the masculine and feminine that I love is the doing and the being. The masculine is the doing, the feminine is that being. So I can see how all of that, with the work that you do, Josie, really leads into where you talk about showing up as a goddess in the dating.
Mhm.
A goddess does not chase someone.
No, exactly. A goddess is that kind of, as soon as you think about a goddess, and that's why I use the analogy goddess, just because you imagine a goddess with dating is pursued and she is adored and she is kind of, she doesn't worry because she's got nothing to worry about. She's kind of, it's very different than the kind of some of the women that have had previous dates where they're overthinking and they're overanalyzing and they're worrying, they're trying to control, and then changing it to this light. It almost lifts you up straight away, thinking this light goddess energy of a woman who's being pursued and adored and laid back and not worrying. And it's such, I use the word because it works so well. And I find that people can really connect with it when it comes to dating. And so if they feel themselves pulling away from that, then they go back to I'm a goddess. And then straight away they can kind of change the whole physiology. Yeah.
Yeah, I can even see it in you when you say the word. It's like you're channeling her.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. I lift up. Exactly, it's great. I love it.
It is beautiful. Josie, I'd love to, I could talk to you all day because I think the work that you do is so precious in terms of helping women and supporting them with the confidence to go out there and date in a way that is going to light them up and lighten their whole vibe around them, not having to go for a date and thinking, oh my gosh, instead it's that whole, wow, this is so cool.
Yeah.
What is the one thing, or if there's more than one, that's okay too, what's a parting message that you would love to share with the women who are watching this to take that experience to something that is really enjoyable for them?
The main thing for me, I think, is to know that every single woman, it's available for every single woman to have a wonderful romantic relationship, as wonderful as you can actually imagine, and that means every single woman, and it all starts from believing that that's true for you. So it all starts from within, and the self-love. So obviously it's a process, but it all starts from within. The first bit is to believe that actually this is available for you, and it is for everyone. So that's my parting message.
And what a beautiful message when it starts inside of us, and we're talking about love on a global scale. It has to start with us for us to expand out from there.
Yeah, exactly.
Josie, we will have the links to your website. If you could, we'll also have the link to the free report that you were talking about that's on your website, so that all the beautiful people watching, men and women, if you've got anybody else who you think is going to benefit, share that with them as well. Josie, it's been amazing sharing this journey with you. Thank you for the love and light that you bring into the world.
Yes. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. And for those of you watching, thank you for being here. Thank you for spreading the message of love around the globe. If there's anybody else who you haven't yet sent this to, send them on the Love Uncensored Summit path, where they'll open up their hearts and their minds to so many different ways to connect with other people, but also, as Josie said, to really connect in with themselves and fall deeply in love with this amazing person that you are. Till next time, I'll see you then. Thank you.